Kia ora, ko dia ho, haramai, thanks for joining us. It's Heritage Month for Waipa District Libraries, and we've invited clubs in the Waipa area to record their oral histories with us. Joining me today is Cambridge Athletic and Harrier Club Life member Thelma Mead. The club, which was started in 1918, was known as the Cambridge Amateur Athletic Club. Thelma, of course, wasn't born then, but her father, Arthur Spicer, was the first club coach and became the third person to be awarded life membership in 1958. The club had gone through 3 name changes during that time. In 1947, the Athletic and Cycling Club formed, and in 1950, the Harrier Club was established. And since then, in 1989, the Athletics and Harrier Clubs amalgamated. The club has a rich history and a number of household names associated with it, and no doubt some interesting stories which I trust Thelma is going to share with us. Kia ora, Thelma. Thanks for joining us. So, Thelma, can you tell me your earliest memories about your father's association with the club?
I think he joined up with it very quickly when we first got here, through a meeting with Jock Vale and other local members. And I remember him going up, because it was on the Victoria Square then, and going up there on a Wednesday night and judging handicapping and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And also the fact that they mowed the grounds manually. They took their mowers up through the day and mowed the track ready for the evening session of athletics there.
Did they have to do that every week?
Yes, I think so.
And at that time, do you think they were sharing it with the cricket club or anything like that on the weekends?
Cricket may have been playing in the middle of the ground at that stage, but there was no building there.
Yeah.
No building at all on the square at that stage.
Yeah. And you said that your dad, Arthur, was involved in forming the Harrier Club, which we know happened in 1950. Can you tell us, or can you remember how that came about?
It came about because there was no Harrier Club in Cambridge at that time. And I think I'm right in saying that they ran with Te Amutu. So they drove to Te Amutu every week, probably, and competed over there. And I don't think it was huge. I can remember when they formed the Harrier Club here that my dad came home with these little pieces of timber and red material and cut out all the triangles to make the markers for around the roads, and
yes.
Mum hemmed them all for him, and then they had a little hammer and tacks and put them all on and made all the markers for the cross-country races and everything.
Right.
Formed, yeah.
And back in the day, where were those cross-country races held? Because at the moment, we do have them all around the Cambridge district.
We do. Well, some of the foundation members were farmers. The Tomsets were farmers.
Yes.
And the Griggs were farmers.
Yes.
The Keeleys were farmers.
Yes.
And we travelled quite a bit. I think they went to Tokoroa and places like that and competed as well.
Oh, right. Okay.
A lot of road racing in that day.
Right.
They set up a relay, which has gone on to be the Cambridge Relay, the big Cambridge Relay. I don't know if they still do that or not, but they had a relay. And they used to run round, a lot of it was in town. They'd come down the main street, down past the clock and all around there in the square and everything.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but of course it's too much traffic now. They had to stop doing that.
Yes.
Made it cross-country.
Yeah, yeah.
Dad, he didn't have good health, and he was custodian of the swimming pool.
Right.
And the first, for quite a few years when they had the relay, they started in the main street, and they used the swimming pool for changing rooms because it wasn't being used as a swimming pool in the winter, of course.
Right.
And they used the changing rooms for all the Harriers for changing and whatever.
Yeah.
And then there would be my mother and myself and perhaps another lady, and we'd serve afternoon tea as they finished, and they'd come the window where you used to pay to go into the pool.
Yeah.
And I remember we'd have tea and probably cordial and a saucer with a piece of fruitcake on a bun or something that they'd take and go and sit round and have their cup of tea when they finished there.
Yeah, it's amazing how the traditions continue. How did you get involved? I mean, obviously you grew up, your dad had a long history with the club.
That's right.
And where did you come into it? And how?
Even back in those days, I did typing at school and went on to do office work.
Yeah.
And I used to type up all their minutes for them and that sort of thing, for their AGMs and all that sort of thing. And always worked on a Saturday if it was in Cambridge local, I always worked that sort of thing. But mainly got involved when our son Craig started running, really. I'd always gone to Harrier Club events and recorded and done all sorts anyway.
Yeah.
But then when Craig got to about 12 or something,
Yeah.
at Athletic Club, and did very well. And he played soccer in early days, and early high school he played soccer and loved it. But he ended up swinging towards the running, and so he did athletics. And then when it came to the winter season, instead of playing soccer, I said, why don't you have a go at Harriers, because you love the running. And so we went, and the first one was a pack run.
Yes.
And so away they went, and I told him, pack run, you run together, stay together.
Yeah.
And they got well towards home, and Roger Sexton said, right, now you can go. And he just took off and won. And he never stopped smiling.
Yeah.
And he was hooked on Harriers from there. And
Yeah.
so, I just was always involved, really. Yeah. And they were always been a very supportive club.
Yeah. And would he have competed for Cambridge, Waikato champs and New Zealand champs, maybe?
Did go to New Zealand champs. He became a 3,000 metre steeplechase runner as a junior man.
Wow. Yeah.
And he ran at Waikato. He went with the Waikato team to Christchurch to run it, and he was asthmatic and he forgot to use his inhaler before the run, and it cost him a place. He said he ended up getting third that time, but the next time round it was at Waikato, and we were lucky enough to be there that day. And he won well that day, and he broke the Waikato record, and he held that, I think, for about 26 years.
Wow.
Before it was broken again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good time.
Yeah. And tell me about some of the people that your dad had with him during the club. You mentioned Jock Vale. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, Jock Vale had a shoe shop in Cambridge on the corner of Duke Street and Victoria Road, where the travel agency is now.
Right, yes.
There. And my dad obviously got to know that he was athletic mind and whatever. And then there was Morris Cranston was an upholsterer in town. He was another athletic Harrier Club man, and he just sort of got in with this crowd, and then they called this public meeting, and all these people come in and formed the Harrier Club.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a great way to do it.
Yeah, it was great, yeah.
Now,
He used to timekeep, and he did a lot of handicapping.
Right.
He was very good at handicapping. He did a lot of handicapping for the athletes and for the Harriers.
Yeah, right. And names such as, I just noted that there's a couple of other life members before your father, Tom Riley and Cess Wallace.
Yes.
Do you know much about them?
Not a lot. They were athletic club, of course, at that stage.
Right.
Because, there was no Harrier Club back then.
Yes.
I knew Cess Wallace. I didn't know Tom Riley. But yeah, I think I wasn't quite so involved in the athletics at that age, because I was only
young.
Yeah, myself. Yeah, so I don't know so much really early days of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
And anything that stands out for you in your time, on the administrative side of things?
I worked with 3 or 4 different presidents of the athletic club while I was secretary there.
Yes.
That was interesting. I think it was just always well run and plenty of variety of events, and I think we were always fairly well endowed with officials to do things at that stage.
Yes.
To be involved in that stage.
Yeah.
And people were supportive.
Yeah. And what about the family aspect of thing? Any kind of families that stand out to you that you remember during your time that were really active in the club?
Oh, very much the Pentelows, of course.
Yes.
very much
Yes.
the Pentalos.
Yes.
You know, Faye was a really good runner, and they were very supportive. Bernie and Melba were both very supportive.
Yes, and both life members of the club as well.
Absolutely, yes. And Melba was a meticulous record keeper.
Yes.
Meticulous record keeper, yeah, and they were great. They turned out for everything. When the two clubs separated, it became like Harrier, two levels, and we ended up having seniors on a separate night.
Right.
You know, and Melba and Bernie and I turned up every week and judged and time kept and did all that sort of thing for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just always. I didn't do so much. I suppose when you're involved for a while, you sort of, you know, could you judge tonight? Or, I don't know about that. I've never judged before, but, you know, Melba was there and she'd say, you know, you pick first because that's easier to pick first, you know. And
Generally speaking.
Yeah, and so you focus on that and so forth. I used to go with them through to Waikato and judge at Waikato and into sports and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And because I worked in schools for 25 years, I used to do a lot of that at the schools that I worked in as well.
Right. And can you remember at what point athletics moved from Victoria Square to the Bogle Street?
I don't know what year it was. It was the council allocated them the land where it is now, and it was just scrub and rubbish and gorse and all sorts at that stage.
Yeah, and I can imagine there was a big working bee to get that all sorted.
Well, there was, but, you know, but they didn't have the machinery. They did it manually.
Wow.
They went up there with scythes and all those sorts of things and cut the grass and dug out the gorse and the blackberry and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. And were they still mowing the track like they did before at Victoria Square?
They used to do it themselves. They had a tractor and a mower.
Yeah.
There was no club rooms, of course, initially. So once they got the club rooms up there, you know, that made a difference.
Yeah.
And they always had a canteen type thing on Ribbon Day with,
yes.
you know. I think one of the first things I ever did up there was standing there all day selling lollies and soft drinks and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
That was just our Saturdays, was Ribbon Days in summer and then Harriers in the winter.
Yeah, and can you tell me about some of the women that you've worked with?
Noel and Noble, of course. The O'Callaghan, Stephen O'Callaghan was a great little runner. And Bev was always good, and the dad ran. There was a family of Wilkinsons. They had daughters that competed and they were always very supportive. And the Wrigleys, Simon Wrigley was a good runner over there. Yeah, there were several families who were just really supportive and regular and whatever.
Yeah, and stayed with the club for years and years until maybe their children grew up and moved away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I guess the thing that happens is that new families come and replace them and the traditions continue.
Yeah, and you get to some new blood in. There were the Nesmiths at one stage. Uncle was a very good competitor and runner, and there was a little one, Elka, I think her name was. They were German, and the mother had represented Germany in the long jump at the Olympic Games. And they were great little runners, and he became club president for a little while. Yeah, and John McGill did it for a while.
Yeah, and what about officials? Do many people come into the club and you know, take up that role? It's always a difficult role.
It is difficult and it's hard to get. You know, they want to go and watch the kids, but they don't really want to get involved.
Yes.
Really. But yeah, I guess mostly they got through because they always had the high jump and the long jump and all those sorts of things.
Yeah. Many throwers?
Not a lot, really. Not a lot. There was Stephen Wilkinson from Rotorua, and he was a good javelin thrower. He represented Waikato with javelin. Yeah. But you know, there weren't a lot of throwers. There was a Gary Little who did athletics in Harriers that was very involved in athletics. Yeah. And he used to do a lot of write-ups for the local paper. You go back through the paper.
Okay.
Have a write-up in it every week. And
did
photos. He had photos. anybody that competed well and had all the results, and then he'd comment on their run and that sort of thing, which good because the kids like to read that.
Yes, and of course there was no Facebook or
none of that.
No websites or anything in those days.
Nothing like that at all.
Yeah.
No. So no, he was very good at that sort of.
So, what are your favourite memories of your time with the club?
Oh gosh.
If you could choose a few.
Well, obviously seeing your own son win.
Yes.
But they were just a good club to be with. It just had a great atmosphere.
Yeah.
Just it was just always nice to be there, and everybody got on well, and and they were all supportive of the kids, and there's a big variety of sports out there for them to do now.
And there definitely is now. I mean, I guess back in the day, athletics was one of the main sports. Could we say that?
Yeah, and it was athletic and cycling.
Yes. Now,
back.
do you know how that came about?
Well, no, not really. It was just always athletic and cycling club. And I think initially that they were on the same night. That sometimes they'd have cycling races. And
right.
Trevor Grinter, who was he was the local undertaker actually in the end.
Right.
He was a cyclist, and there were quite a few good cyclists in town at that stage, and they did track and road, but mainly track, I think.
Right.
On the grass, of course.
I wonder if that stems from the association with Te Awamutu as well, and the track that they have down in TA, where they've got the velodrome down there and the tracks on the inside. Maybe there's an association there.
Yeah.
Thelma, is there anything else that sticks in your mind before we go?
I do think combining the two clubs was a good move. Combined the facilities, and a lot of the members were doing both.
Yes.
And I think that was a good move.
Yeah.
I actually second the motion, I believe. I thought Dad would approve of this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he would have approved of it, so and I think that was a good move.
Yeah, great.
And then before I even met my husband, he and a group of his friends, all farmers out at Rotorangi, decided that anybody could run a 4-minute mile. You had to be able to run a 4-minute mile. It was just, you couldn't. So they turned up at Athletic Club one night in their sand shoes and whatever, and lined up, and Dad was in charge and handicapping and whatever. So they told him all the details, and away they went. And he told them if they were having him on, he would deal with them. And they took off, and they found that they couldn't run a 4-minute mile, could they?
Is that right?
Yes, they did. They did, yeah. They weren't members or anything, they just smart,
I see.
rugby boys.
Yes.
They all played rugby and decided that anybody could run a 4-minute mile. That was just ridiculous.
Yeah, well, Nick Willis has shown that you can run a 4-minute mile for, 21 years in a row, but he's an exceptional athlete.
He is. No.
Well, look, Thelma, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome. I hope it's been useful.
It has. Thank you.